Yoga for lower back pain. The goals of this class are to help lengthen the spine, improve posture, stabilize the lower back, relieve pain, strengthen supporting muscles, and realign the spine. Begin standing either at the top of a mat or with room behind you, with feet slightly apart. Roll the shoulders back. Tuck the ribcage in, lengthen through the whole spine. Draw the chin in and back. Begin to breathe deeply in and out through the nose. From here, move into Sun Salutation A by lifting the hands above the head, maybe touching the palms together, and arching the spine. Then lean forward, hinging at the hips, and bend the knees. Plant the hands and step back into a high plank, and then slowly lower to the ground. Let the elbows come to rest, palms facing down out in front of you, and lift the chest into a low cobra. The base of the rib cage should still be touching the ground. Take a couple deep breaths here. When you're ready, press back onto your feet and heels and come up into a seated position. And then bringing the hands back out in front of you, walking them out, start to sit the hips back onto the heels and move into child's pose. Hold here and breathe. When you're ready, tuck the toes under if they're not already tucked, and press the hips back and up into a downward dog. Walk the feet up to the hands and slowly roll all the way up. Bring the hands overhead and let them drop down by the sides. Moving into our second Sun Salutation A, bring the hands back up, lifting the gaze, arching the spine, maybe palms come together. Exhale, lean forward, putting a generous bend in the knees if you need to. Plant the hands and step or hop back into a plank, lowering down almost to the ground. From here, untuck the toes and draw the chest up and forward into an upward dog. Trying to keep the thighs lifted off the ground slightly. It's okay if they touch. On the next exhale, draw the hips back and up, moving into a downward dog. Press the hands evenly into the mat, trying to put pressure into the fingers and lift a little bit away from the pad of the hand so that not all of your weight is going into your wrists. On an exhale, refocus. You might bend the knees in down dog if you want to. Take several more breaths here, trying to draw the shoulders away from the ears. And when you're ready, walk the feet back up to the hands and slowly roll through the spine, coming up every vertebrae until you're standing again. Letting the hands come up over the head, maybe touching palms together. And then exhale, let the hands drop by your sides. Take one more Sun Salutation A. Inhale, hands come up, palms together. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, plant the hands and step or hop back, lowering yourself down. Inhale, draw the chest up and forward as you move into an up dog, and exhale, press the hips back and up, pressing evenly through the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet, going into down dog. Take 5 deep breaths here. Maybe bending the knees, maybe keeping them straight. When you're ready, look forward, bending the knees, and step or hop up to the hands, feet landing in between the palms. Fold, and then from this folded position, slowly roll up until you come all the way to standing, maybe bringing the hands overhead with a slight arch in the spine one more time, and then relaxing the spine and relaxing the arms down by the sides. Move into Sun Salutation B by putting a generous bend in the knees as the hands come up, just straight in front of you. Maybe the palms face, maybe they come together. You're sitting back as if you're sitting into a chair. And then fold forward, straighten in the knees. Inhale, look forward, maybe lifting the chest slightly, and exhale, plant the hands and step or hop back into plank. Lower down and move into either a cobra or an up dog. On the next exhale, press back, lifting the hips up, moving into a down dog. Step the right foot forward between the hands and let the left knee drop to the ground. Lift the chest and arms. If you want, you can place both hands on top of the right knee and just press down into that right knee as you're here, lifting the chest a little higher, or you can lift the hands above the head. Take several more breaths here. When you're ready, let the hands come back down to frame the foot. Step the right foot back into a plank, and then step the left foot forward, dropping the right knee to the ground. Lift the chest and arms. Maybe the hands rest on the left knee. Maybe they come up. Taking several deep breaths here. When you're ready, let the hands come down, stepping back into your plank, and lower down to the ground. Press into the hands and lift the chest either into a low cobra or to an upward facing dog. And then press the hips back and up, moving into down dog. Take several deep breaths here to reset. When you're ready, prepare by bending the knees and step or hop back, up between the hands, keeping the knees bent, lifting the chest and arms, coming back into a chair pose. So legs are bent, hips are going back, and torso is leaning forward. Take a couple breaths here. Maybe sit back a little bit deeper, trying to point the knees forward, the toes forward, and then come up into a standing position, mountain pose. We'll do one more Sun Salutation B. So on the next inhale, bend the knees, lift the arms, draw the chest forward, sitting deep into the chair pose. For this one, put a slight arch in the spine, really countering all that rounding that you've been doing. When you're ready, bend forward, planting the hands, and step or hop back into plank. Lower yourself down, and then move into a cobra or up dog. Hold here for a breath or two, and press the hips back into down dog, pressing evenly through the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet, maybe with a bend in the knees. Step your right foot forward, bending the knee, and come up into warrior one. So back foot can be planted, or the heel can pop up on the back foot, almost as if you're doing a lunge. Chest and hands are lifted. Taking several deep breaths here. Maybe opening the arms into goalpost arms or cactus arms, bending the elbows, keeping the hands up. Then bring the hands back down to the ground, step the right foot back, lower down, lift the chest slightly, then lower the chest and lift back into down dog. From here, step the left foot forward, bending the left knee, set up the back foot however you'd like, either flat on the ground or with the heel popping up. Lift the chest and arms up into warrior one on the left side. Taking several deep breaths here, switching up the arms if you'd like. You can drop them down into goalpost arms with the elbows bent and hands up. Let the chest and hands drop, planting the hands, stepping the right foot back and lowering down. Moving into cobra or up dog. And then on the exhale, pressing the hips back and up into down dog. Take 4 to 5 deep breaths here. Look forward, bending the knees to prepare, and step or hop back up. Moving into chair pose, lifting the hands as the hips go back and the knees bend. And then straightening up into your mountain pose. From here, move to a wall with space behind you to walk back. When you've reached the wall, take a moment to assess how your body currently feels. Keeping the feet planted and the hips in place, move the rib cage only over to the right side. Just pay attention to how that feels, and then come back to center. Move the rib cage only over to the left side. See how that feels, and come back to center. Fold forward as far as you're able to go from the hips, seeing how that feels on your back, on any other area. See if you get any tension in the body from doing this. And then coming back up, begin to arch the spine. Again, we're arching as far as you can comfortably go. It's okay if you get into an area that feels a little uncomfortable. This is just an assessment to see where you're at currently, or where you're at today. We change from day to day. Okay, now that you're aware of the body, take a moment to step slightly away from the wall, maybe 1 foot or maybe 1.5 feet. Press the hands against the wall, about at shoulder height, and lean the hips in. So the feet should stay where they are. The hips are leaning into the wall, letting them drop in as much as you can, holding this position and breathing for as long as you can comfortably stay here. If this is uncomfortable for you, just assess and sit in the discomfort for a moment, breathing deeply. You might pause the track here if you need more time, or if you're ready, you can come away from the wall. Again, I'll give you the invitation to pause the track here if you'd like to do this 1 or 2 more times. Next, we'll move into a down dog on the wall. So to do this, we're in the same position, pressing the hands evenly into the wall, and then starting to walk the feet back and draw the hips back. So we're almost making a right angle or an L shape with the body. As the feet walk back, you might bend the knees, and the hands might walk down the wall just a little bit if that feels comfortable. We're trying to draw the arms out so that the arm comes beside the ear and is even with the shoulders and the back. Just getting a nice stretch through the back body. If you bend the knees, you'll get a slightly different stretch, so you can experiment with how that feels. Take a moment to breathe here. And when you're ready, walk yourself back in, standing up tall, and make your way back to a place where you can spread out on the floor and move comfortably into some different poses. So when you've found an open space, maybe in your living room or another area of the house, come onto hands and knees. If this is uncomfortable for the knees, you can set a small or thin blanket under the knees for a little bit more cushion. We're going to move into cat-cow by beginning to arch the spine, trying to arch from the tailbone and then through the whole spine, lifting the head, drawing the shoulders back, drawing the chest forward, and then as you round, trying to move through every vertebrae of the spine, moving from the tailbone up. Begin to move at your own pace, arching and rounding, connecting your breath with your movement. Remembering to breathe. If you want, you can experiment with some other movements, maybe moving the hips from side to side as you're still arching and rounding the spine, maybe drawing the shoulders forward and from left to right and then back, doing some circles with the upper body, maybe some figure 8 pose and movement, or you can just stick to the traditional cat-cow, bringing whatever movement into your body that feels good here. Eventually coming back to your neutral position on hands and knees. From here, we're going to move into a bird dog, which will help to stabilize the core. Beginning on hands and knees, start to stretch the right foot back behind you. Maybe the toes are still touching the ground. Maybe you lift the heel towards the ceiling, lifting toes off the ground, trying to keep the hips squared in this position. It matters more that the hips are squared than how high you lift the leg. From here, if it feels comfortable and if you feel stable, you might start to lift the left hand up off the ground and stretch it out in front of you. Engage the abdomen. Breathe deeply. And really focus on the core here. The muscles in the core, tucking the rib cage down. Continuing to breathe. Then when you're ready, let that left arm come down and that right leg come down, and we'll switch sides. Starting first, this time with the left leg, drawing it back. Toes might be on the ground at first. And then if you feel stable, you can start to lift the left heel up, lift the left toes off the ground, keeping the hips squared. From here, if comfortable, begin to lift the right arm out in front of you. balancing while stabilizing with your core muscles and your abs. Continue to breathe deeply. When you're ready, bring the hand down, bring the leg down. Option to pause here, pause the recording, and do that 2 or 3 more times on both sides. If you haven't paused the recording, we'll come into our next pose on hands and knees. Begin to walk the hands out, keeping the knees where they are, trying to keep the hips over the knees as you bring the chest down towards the ground. So we're moving into puppy pose. It's a little bit like child's pose, only you're keeping the hips up and the legs active as you draw the chest and head down. If it feels okay and if it's in your reach, you might press the forehead down into the ground. Breathe deeply here. If you feel like you can go a little deeper, you're welcome to, or you're welcome to just stay where you're at. Take about 5 more deep breaths. And when you're ready, slowly walk the hands back in so that the wrists stack underneath the shoulders and the knees stack underneath the hips. We're going to thread the needle now by taking the right hand and lifting it up, opening the chest to the right, maybe lifting the gaze towards the ceiling, towards the hand. And then on the exhale, take that hand and thread it underneath the left arm, maybe bringing the shoulder down towards the ground. We'll do that a couple times, lifting the arm up, opening the hand and palm up to the ceiling, maybe lifting the gaze. And on the exhale, drawing that arm, shoulder down underneath the left arm. Do this one more time, bringing the arm up, lifting the gaze, opening the chest, and exhale, bring it down. This time we're going to stay down, so stretching that arm underneath, palm facing up. As far as you can go, the right shoulder will come down towards the ground. Great job. Take a moment to breathe here, relaxing into this pose. Option to take the left arm and walk it out in front of your head as you're here for a slightly deeper stretch. Continue to breathe. One more deep breath. Okay. Walk that left hand back in if it's out. Bring the right hand out and plant both hands. From here, go to the left side. Start to lift the left hand up, opening the chest, bringing the fingers up towards the ceiling, maybe lifting the gaze in that direction, and then thread the left hand underneath the right. On the inhale, come back out, lifting the hand, lifting the chest, and exhale, thread underneath the right arm, bringing the left shoulder down. One more time, bring that arm up and out, and exhale, thread the arm underneath the right arm, bringing the shoulder down, palm is facing up, and start to breathe here. If you want, you can start to walk that right hand up and in front of the head. Breathe deeply, hold this pose. And if the right hand is coming out above the head, you can walk it back in, pressing down into the floor as you untuck the left hand, planting both hands and coming back onto hands and knees. From here, step the feet back, moving into a plank, holding and breathing, working on tucking the rib cage down, engaging the abdomen, drawing the chin back, really pressing evenly through the whole palm of the hand. And if you feel comfortable, you might start to turn to the right, dropping the left knee down and drawing the right leg back, moving into a side plank on the right side. Option here to lift the right hand up, fingertips facing the ceiling. Option if you want to lift the left leg so that both legs are out in a side plank. While doing this, you're trying to draw the hips forward, trying to have a nice straight line through the body. Remembering to breathe. You're welcome to come out of it at any time. When you're ready, bring both hands down, back into the regular plank. From here, you're welcome to drop the right knee down as we prepare to go to the left side. From here, stretch that left leg out, maybe lifting the left arm up so that the fingers come up towards the ceiling. Right hand is planted. You can stay here as you breathe and stabilize, or if you want, you're welcome to bring the right foot up, lifting the knee off the ground to meet the left foot, holding a side plank on the left side, trying to draw the hips forward as you tuck the rib cage in, really engaging the abdomen. Taking several deep breaths here. You're almost done. And whenever you're ready, you can let that knee come down, move back into a regular plank, setting both knees down on the ground, and then pressing the hips back into child's pose, sitting back onto your feet. You can untuck the toes if you want, and just let the top of the foot rest down against the ground. Having arms out in front of you, really just relaxing back into this pose. Breathing deeply. If the legs aren't already wide in this child's pose, you might bring them a little bit wider, walking the knees out, almost as if you're going to do the splits, but with the knees bent. So from here, you're going to bring the legs back so that the feet and ankles go back behind you. It's almost as if you're making a goalpost with your legs. And then if you want, you can lift onto your elbows. We're moving into frog pose. So just stretching the inner thighs and inner legs. Try to find a position where you're really getting a good stretch between the legs. Take a moment to breathe here. And when you're ready, walk the hands back, walk the hips back. Come back into a position where you're sitting on your legs, sitting the hips back onto the heels, and let the legs come around until you're in a position where you're sitting with the legs in front of you, nice and tall. From here, we're going to open the legs just a little bit and fold forward. So you're reaching down towards your feet, trying to keep the chest lifted, just doing a little bit of a forward fold. Lifting first from the lower back, lifting from the spine, and then hinging forward. Taking a couple deep breaths here. Sit back up tall. And start to walk the legs a little bit further apart as if you're trying to do middle splits. Doesn't matter how far you go, just go as far as the legs naturally allow. And then start to walk the hands forward in between the legs, walking forward as far as your back folds. It's okay if you round a little bit in this position. You're just trying to get a nice stretch. When you're ready, walk the hands back in. Find a nice tall spine, keeping the legs where they are. And now this time, I want you to hinge forward without rounding through the spine at all. So keeping the chest lifted, trying to keep a neutral spine, just fold forward as far as the body goes naturally without starting to round. Continue to breathe. When you're ready, walk the hands back in. And keeping the legs where they are, lean over to the right. So it's almost as if the torso is between two panes of glass. You just want to lean straight over to the side. The hand can come to the outside of the right leg. To stabilize you, you might lift the left hand overhead as you start to lean to the side. Breathing here. Getting a side stretch. When you're ready, coming back up to center, take a deep inhale and exhale through your mouth to reset. One more inhale and deep exhale through the mouth. And now go to the left. Remember, keeping the torso nice and tall as if you're in between two panes of glass. Maybe the left hand comes down to the outside of the leg to stabilize. Maybe the right arm comes up overhead as you start to lean in that direction. Hold and breathe. Getting a nice stretch. Maybe trying to lift the chest just a little bit more. Do a slightly bigger twist from the spine. And when you're ready, come back up to center. Bring the legs in, and slowly, one vertebrae at a time, start to round down through the back, lowering yourself all the way down to the ground. When you're on the ground, step the feet in, planting them, knees facing up towards the ceiling. Hands can rest with palms down by your hips, or they might just rest on the abdomen with palms down. Take a moment here to just breathe. From here, we're going to do some pelvic tilts. So you'll start to tuck the tailbone down, trying to press the lower back and spine into the ground, and then moving the pelvis in the opposite direction, arching from the tailbone. So what we're trying to do is isolate movement to the lower back and spine, not moving up into the mid back or upper back at all. Just trying to keep that rounding and arching into the tailbone area. Take a couple of these on your own, moving as slowly or as quickly as you'd like. Really focusing on those muscles, trying to strengthen that area. Great job. Come back to a neutral pelvis. From here, take the right foot, lifting it up and in towards the chest, and then take the right ankle and cross it over the left leg, resting right above the right knee. Let the right knee drop out to the side, moving into a figure 4 pose. So a couple options here. You might just stay here if that's intense enough for your leg, There's an option to press just below the right knee and press it out a little bit further. Or if you want, you might lace the hands underneath the left thigh, underneath the left knee, and draw that knee up and in, creating more intense feeling in the right leg. Whichever version of your figure 4 pose you're in, take a moment to breathe and to be aware of how it feels. As the muscles start to relax, if they do, option to go a little bit deeper. If you're drawing the left leg in towards the body, relax the grip and let that foot come back down, planting it on the ground. Take the right foot and release it from the left leg, planting that foot as well. And go to the other side. So bringing the left leg in towards the chest, drawing knee in, and then starting to turn the ankle in and the knee out. Place the left ankle just above the right knee. You might stay here if this is intense enough. Option to take the hand and press the left knee out, creating more sensation. You also have the option to thread the hands underneath the right thigh and start to draw that thigh in, lifting that foot off the ground, creating a more intense sensation. Wherever you are, breathe. And when you're ready, release the legs, release the hands, letting both feet come down and planting on the ground. Knees are still up. Take a deep inhale and exhale here to reset. And now move into bridge. So here you can do a supported bridge or you can do just a regular bridge. If you want a supported bridge, find something like a block, maybe a blanket, or something that is similar, something that you can put underneath your hips to help support them. If you're just doing the regular bridge, there's an option to just press into the feet, starting to lift the hips. Hands are by your side, palms pressing down to support you, and lift the hips as high as they'll comfortably go. Once here, stay and breathe. Stabilizing your body with arms and feet. Being aware of how this feels on your lower back. If you feel comfortable doing so, you might lift the right leg out in front of you, toes coming up, heel coming down, and breathe here. You can stay here, or at any time you can plant that foot again. If you haven't already, bring the foot down. And if it feels comfortable, move to the left side, planting the right foot down as you start to walk the left foot out, maybe lifting it off the ground, stretching that leg out as you stay in this bridge pose. And then letting that left leg come back down. With both feet planted, start to roll down through every vertebrae of the spine, eventually bringing the hips back to the ground and letting the whole body relax. Legs are still up, knees are still up and feet are still planted here. Okay, we're going to do this 2 more times. So start to roll from the tailbone. If it feels comfortable, if you're starting to feel a lot of pain or discomfort in the lower back, you can move on from here and just skip this part. If not, then do 2 more. So coming up, this time you don't have to lift the legs, we're just lifting the hips, trying to lift them as high as we can, supporting with hands and feet. Hold and breathe. And when you're ready, roll back down. Let's do one more. Inhale, coming up, lifting the hips off the ground, rolling through the spine. Taking a couple deep breaths here. And then when you're ready, roll all the way down. Relaxing the spine. Let both legs drop down to the right side, starting to give your back a little bit of a release. The hands can come out to a T, either palms facing up or down, whatever feels best for you. If you want, you can bring the right hand down and rest it on the left leg just above the knee to give yourself a deeper stretch if you're doing this stretch on your own. Or you can have somebody come and press the left knee down as they press the left shoulder down in opposite directions. When you're ready, let the knees come back up to center and then drop down to the opposite side. Again, option to bring the left hand down and to press into the right leg, getting yourself a deeper stretch, or to have somebody assist you. You can stay and breathe here for as long as you feel comfortable. As we begin to wind our practice down, bring both knees into the chest. You might wrap the hands around the shins. Then rock, if it feels okay, from side to side on your back, helping to release that lower back and relax it. Let the left leg come down as you draw only the right leg into the chest. If you want, the left leg can straighten out completely, or you can keep the foot planted. Take the right leg and start to draw it out to the side, still with the knee bent. Taking a couple deep breaths here with the leg out to the side. And then bringing it back into center. Draw it across the body towards the left side. Maybe you take your left hand to pull it a little bit more to the left side. And then let it come back to center and come down. Switching sides. Bring the left leg in as close as you can to the chest. Breathing deeply. And then taking the left hand, start to bring that left leg out to the side. Continuing to breathe. Right leg might be planted, or you might stretch it out. Bring that left leg back to center, and then maybe switching hands so that the right hand is pulling it across the body. Start to bring it across to the right side. Taking a couple deep breaths here. And when you're ready, bringing that leg back to center and releasing it down. Either both legs are stretched out straight right now, or both feet are planted with the knees up. From here, we'll move into our final pose of a supported Shavasana. If you have pain in your back when you lay flat on the ground, you might just keep the knees up. You're welcome to take a bolster, a large pillow or a couple pillows, or a rolled up blanket and set it underneath the knees so that your legs can relax down. If it's comfortable, just stay laying on your back. The hands may come out with the palms up. If you need any more support, you're welcome to go grab yourself a pillow or a blanket. Sometimes it feels nice to put a blanket over the body as you rest in Shavasana. When you've found the supported position that you want, try to find stillness in the body. Allow the breath to start to relax. Do a quick mental scan from your head down to your feet, finding any tension that you might be holding in the body and beginning to relax and release those muscles. Take a moment to swallow, allowing the jaw to relax and the tongue to fall down from the roof of the mouth. Begin to breathe naturally and slowly. And just allow yourself to find rest until you hear the sound of my voice again. When you're ready, you can begin to bring some movement back into the body. Maybe wiggling the toes and fingers, maybe rolling the wrists and ankles. If there are any stretches that you feel like you need as you end your practice today, feel free to do those now. Eventually, making your way up into a seated position. When you've reached your seated position, you might cross the legs and bring the hands to heart center, folding forward and then rising again. Namaste. Thank you for showing up today, for doing this for yourself, for receiving this gift. Take care.